The Oregon Ducks wrap up the 2024-2025 sports calendar, going 12-0 against their rivals.
Yeah, that was incredible. This weekend, Oregon finished off a 3-game sweep of UW in baseball, and it marked a perfect 12-0 season against Oregon and Washington and Oregon State for the Ducks in football, men's basketball, and baseball. And baseball's probably the most surprising one.
Because Oregon State ain't no joke.
Oregon State is no joke. UW has historically had a good baseball program. And Oregon is, with Coach Waz, is obviously on the right track as they're 5th in the country right now.
And this is a baseball program that really came out of nowhere.
I saw one ranking had them at 3rd.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's only 714 different baseball polls.
Billion of them.
Yeah.
But to do that, and there's always like somewhere, sometime, right, where you hiccup against one of your rivals in any sport, whether it's the back and forth nature of the Civil War for several years, or the rivalry with Washington, which got lopsided at one point, but UW had decent basketball, really good baseball, and Oregon didn't have baseball for a stretch of that, a large stretch of that 12-year run. And then, you had years where Oregon State making runs at the NCAA tournament and just a really damn good baseball program that doesn't get swept, and Oregon took 4 in a row off of them. It was a surprise that happened, especially this year with how good Oregon State's baseball team is. And where Oregon's basketball team, they had their ups and downs, their dips. They only played the Beavs once in basketball this year, but they play them 4 times in baseball. That's a really tough feat to do. And
don't have to worry about UW in basketball.
Don't have to worry about them right now. They're down.
Yeah, they're putting football back together.
Well, hey, and I saw they released the reports of revenues for all schools across. UW hauled in $190 million this year.
That ain't bad.
Oregon was second of the schools out west and I think it was only like $167 million. So there's a big gap. But you also take into pumping the money right back into the program that comes in. Oregon has created a giant down in Eugene right now in football, basketball, and baseball. This weekend, Oregon goes out to Iowa. Iowa, #1 team in the Big Ten in baseball.
Field of Dreams.
In the weirdest series of all time, do you see how the Oregon State went and played them in Des Moines this past weekend? You see how that series ended?
No.
Oregon State won the first 2. The third game was called due to travel restrictions.
Lightning?
Nope. No, travel restrictions.
No.
Oregon State had to leave because they were in the 11th inning, and they said, no, curfew. Boom, game's over.
I thought you were saying travel restrictions like lightning was coming and they had to get out.
No, it was middle of the day.
Well,
game. It was, it was like
we saw a team stall for that.
Or 2 o'clock. It happens in the SEC all the time.
Where if you don't get to a certain inning by a certain time, that's it. And so they had a couple mound visits and they were stalling.
Kentucky, Florida is the most recent one that happened.
That's nasty work. By the way.
Happens all the time in the SEC because they have a travel curfew where there's a drop dead time, the game will end. And so Oregon State and Iowa finished with a tie in the 11th inning. But Iowa is really damn good at baseball, and that's who Oregon wraps up the season with. The top 3 teams in the Big Ten, Iowa, UCLA, and Oregon, heading into the final weekend, any of the 3 could win the league. And if Oregon takes 2 of 3 from Iowa, then they could jump up to the top spot. And then UCLA, I think they got USC at the end of the year. If I'm correct,
they usually
but
finish.
I don't know.
At least they're playing on their own field.
Yeah, they're at Jackie Robinson Stadium.
Remember, they got kicked out of there.
Yeah,
the judge injunction.
That was wild.
Yeah, because they had it for like 80 years without paying for it.
Yeah, and they were on. It was technically it's
Veterans
VA
Affairs
lands. And so they got booted out of there for a while, but no, they back now. UCLA wraps up with Northwestern, obviously the traditional rival of Northwestern and UCLA.
I know USC and UCLA usually play at the end of the year, just not
Yeah.
always the very end.
They
of the
played, looks like the same weekend that Oregon State played.
year. Okay.
In May. So UCLA wraps up with Northwestern, and UCLA probably going to win the league because Oregon would have to sweep for that to happen.
That'd be tough.
Yeah. Iowa's good, man. They, for Big Ten baseball, for those who don't know, Iowa just wins like these one-run games where they come out of nowhere, and it's like, wait, how did they win this game?
Sounds like their football team.
Very similar to their football team.
And their basketball team.
They can't punt, though, in baseball.
Just long flies.
Yeah.
I wonder how many sack flies they have. Do they lead the Big Ten in sack flies?
I don't know.
Or runners advance via bunt?
I do know that they won a game with 2 outs, suicide squeeze.
Ooh! Love to see it. Get weird. That should just be Iowa, University of Iowa. Get weird.
Yeah, dude,
you want to win, but in the weirdest way possible?
Yeah.
Come here.
That sounds about right.
For all of our sports.
Let's just get weird, everybody.
Women's
Iowa
basketball,
sports.
we have the best player on the planet, and then a bunch of other people.
Yeah. And a bunch of other people.
Yeah. Just get weird, no matter what.
Yeah. Big Ten baseball is weird, though. It's weird to like start having to follow Big Ten baseball.
Catch the fever.
Yeah, nobody says that. It's like, when does it thaw out?
Yeah, right? Oh, God.
When does it all thaw out?
Yeah, playing in Northwestern in the beginning of the season, it's got to be hell.
I would assume so. The wind and the
probable snow
mess.
Ugh.
Gnarly, dude.
Yeah,
so heading into the final week, Iowa 21-6 in conference play, UCLA 20-7, Oregon is 19-8. So they have to make up a game on the Bruins in the final week of Big Ten play.
Well, there you go.